this man, I'm not saying he's seen the light, but he speaks common sense. He's a good man. Matthew Torbitt, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
He's not wrong, Dean, is he? I mean, Angela Rayner couldn't look anybody in the face this afternoon. I want to kick off with the Labour revolt. We're saying 120 plus Labour MPs, including the likes of Sadiq Khan, not that he's an MP, and I think he's an idiot, have vowed to sink the bill when it reaches the Commons next week. This is flagship policy time. This is $5 billion off the welfare budget, OK? They're warning that it could drive 250,000 people into poverty. This could seriously threaten a man's authority that is the Prime Minister. 11 months in, man. 11 months in. Was this welfare cut in the manifesto?
Don't recall it was.
Was anything in the bloody manifesto? Not an awful lot.
There was 100 and odd pages. The problem is, as I've always said, the most unpopular stuff we've done wasn't, and I think there is no clear mandate for that. So what's the point in the manifesto? This is what drives people crazy about politics. If it's a threat to his authority, good. This is what happens when you march MPs up a hill like winter fuel allowance and U-turn and let them get all the grief in their constituency over it with absolutely no credit whatsoever in enforcing the U-turn. It's also what happens when you ignore your child poverty strategy and kick it down the road constantly, and then try and implement legislation that's going to put 700,000 people into poverty and do totally the opposite of what a Labour government should do. It's also what happens when you treat MPs like dirt and put out anonymous briefings that, oh, we're not going to, we're going to say they're not going to get any ministerial jobs. I mean, most of them aren't good enough for them anyway, but, we'll do what we want. These are drunk on, but it's also what happens when you have a plan to win an election with no plan. Anyone that meets the Chief of Staff will tell you, no plan to govern. You've had 14 years. You backed one candidate that was unsuccessful in 2015 in Liz Kendall. You backed a candidate and found yourself an empty vessel now. And you've had no priority other than trying to kill the left faction of the party. Utterly ridiculous. And this is where we find ourselves.
There is real anger in Labour ranks at Sir Keir Starmer, isn't there? I mean, I look, and I'm just, I sit here every day, but I look at a man who, there was this extraordinary sort of two visions this week with Trump. He's asked by Beth Rigby, did you see the interview looking out across the mountains at the G7? Do you believe a strike is imminent? No, he said, we had a 2-hour conversation. No, it's not, as a stealth bomber flew past in the back, literally 10 minutes later. Then you saw him and Trump. Did you see the pictures yesterday? Trump's got a file and some papers fall out, and Starmer's on the ground picking it up. He seems to want to try and please all the people all the time. And I said it at the election. The tent was so broad in my mind, Matt. He was always going to end up hacking. You've been very honest. You come from the left of the Labour Party. What you've seen of this man is he sold his soul down the river. You would prefer him to... It's almost like he's just done everything he needed to do to get the job. But if you're a waspy woman or a pensioner, or if you're a farmer, if you're a veteran, if you're in fact anybody who's worked all their lives, look at the illegal migrant situation, that story yesterday. You feel you're at the back of the queue and you're really hacked off. And my view about the Labour Party is, and I'm completely honest here, the view from the cheap seats is one thing. When you're in power, it's a completely different kettle of fish. And he is floundering. And I'm now with you 1,000,000%. He won't last 4 more years, not in a million years.
I've said it, as you know, for a long time. He'll do well to see out 2026. Rachel Reeves will be the same. Rachel Reeves will hang around because she is a useful punch bag for number 10, because she will continue to be more unpopular than Keir Starmer. A lot of the MPs blame her for things like the winter fuel allowance, not necessarily Keir. But I saw some data today, with the welfare cut in particular, of why this is utterly stupid from an electoral point of view. So, and I have to credit Chaminda Gianetti, the freelance journalist, and David Littlefair, who runs a group called Labour Beyond Cities. They shared some data with me that they've been working on for a while. If you, there's 50 MPs, Labour MPs currently, that have smaller majorities than those affected in their constituencies by these proposed PIP cuts. So 50 MPs might as well be gone. That's basically priced in, because if you're disabled, you're not voting for the person that's just cut your disability benefits. No chance. If we were to presume that would also influence 2 people in their lives, be that friends, be that family, that's 280 seats Labour would lose at the next election based on 2024 numbers. For electoral and parliamentary preservation alone, what are you doing?
Do you agree that the welfare budget is bloated?
Yes.
You believe that it pays, as I do, I mean, I've always said, and I've always nailed my colours to the mast, I'm very happy to be part of a system where I pay tax to help those who are less fortunate and those who need real help. What I'm really hacked off with, and this is a universal view, I haven't met anybody who disagrees, is that we seem to give the money to the wrong bloody people, and the people who need it miss out, right? I think the idea of cutting this bloated budget is absolutely right. It's a bit like the NHS, but people are so scared of this. What I find even more ironic overnight, and you'll give me your Labour take on this, was Kerry Badenoch saying, we'll help you get it through. You know politics, I don't. If you adhere to these three things. She knows that he can't, so he won't. She's stuck ahead above the parapet. Why would she not just sit there and let them kill themselves? I don't get that at all.
Because she can say he's kowtowing to her demands. And that's the other thing. How? Only this Labour Prime Minister and this Labour government could embolden and empower the most incompetent Conservative leader, well, since Liz Truss, I suppose, but beyond that, she makes the Tories less relevant by the day. You've given her a gift and she has your hands tied. How have you got yourself in that position? They've either got to not cut taxes and find money from elsewhere, which isn't going to happen. They will raise taxes in the budget. It's totally obvious. Anybody of any sense knows that. But she wants to get a scalp, and you're going to allow her to if you're not careful. Ultimately, none of this is relevant.
Are you really? Are you surprised at how crap he's been? Serious question.
No, I said from the off. I said on a different show on election night, this is the best it will get, because I've seen him up close, and you've now won this massive majority. Great feat, whatever. I mean, the Tories gave it to us on a plate, but you know.
I think anybody could have got that majority.
No, I think we could have done. However, it was always my concern, and I said at the time, was we're not going to see real change. What we're going to see is managed decline, and that's ultimately what's been happening over the last 12 months. Let's
talk about the highlight is the wrong word. The main story in the investigative piece in The Sun yesterday about taking us for a ride. Channel migrants working legally as takeaway delivery riders. I'm really strong on this. I mean, optics I think are quite important. I'd have put the doors in at 6 a.m. in the morning with the immigration services, and I'd have dragged those CEOs up to Downing Street. I don't understand why a minister says we're going to speak to them next week. I'd be fining them. You're not going to tell me unless there's a middleman and there's more to this. You're not going to tell me in a million years that companies don't know if they're giving £1,000 in cash a week to migrants. And how come those companies can process them enough from when they get off the boat to giving them a job, and we, the United Kingdom, can't get our asses into gear and process hundreds of thousands of migrants who are in this country and we don't know who the hell they are?
No, they don't. This is the problem. Anyone that's listening to this now can go onto Facebook Marketplace. This is how ridiculous it is. I've known about this for about a year and nobody wants to do anything about it. You go on Facebook Marketplace and you type in Deliveroo profile, Uber Eats profile, these companies. People are selling profiles. So there's a black market of people realising there are people here that aren't allowed to work, can't work, don't have the legal paperwork, have no recourse to public funds. We can make a nice little earner, because if they've got a bit of cash, they're going to buy this profile, and they're pretending to be somebody else, which is obviously a safeguarding risk for any woman that lives on their own, who's ordering food, or anybody for that matter. This, for me, the buck stops with the CEOs. Absolutely, I agree. They should be fined, they should be hauled in, and I think you can blame the individuals. I think, rightfully so, it's against the law. I think ultimately, if you are a true asylum seeker, or even if you're not, you're waiting for your claim to be processed and you get £5 a week.
You get a lot more than that, though, don't you?
No, £5 a day, sorry, £5 a day.
Yeah, £5 a day, and you get a doctor and a dentist and Pilates lessons and
but
lessons.
you don't feed your kids with doctor and dentist and whatever, that's my point.
No, but they don't come with their kids. Come on, Matty. I mean, you're not Darren Jones. Darren Jones said they're all women and children. He's another idiot, isn't he?
That's
83% of them are single men.
That's not true, but if I put myself in that position and I happen to find myself in a far-flung country because my country was in a right state, I would be desperate and try and do what I could to provide for my kids.
Yeah, I'm with you, but we're too soft in allowing that loophole to exist. That loophole should be closed.
That's why... No, I agree, and I said to you off air, I think there is an argument which people won't agree with, but either people are going to take... And this is also, if Whitehall is not going to allow a change to the system, whether that be through international law, ECHR, either reforming it or leaving it or whatever else, if we're going to carry on and pretend none of this is happening, the only thing I can see that could be useful is allowing people who have been waiting for 6 months or longer the right to work and give them a temporary national insurance number. If their asylum claims failed, see you later, you've got to go. However, these people can build up some money, so if they are passed, they're not relying on the state. At the minute, we have record amount of people claiming from the state, not giving anything back, and maybe we should give them the opportunity to do minimum wage jobs. And it will also maybe potentially solve a labour crisis because nobody wants to work.
I love your honesty about the Labour Party. We love having you on. He's toast, isn't he, Starmer?
Yeah, no, he's not. He's not making the election. I've always been of that opinion, and I will still be of the opinion the only person that can give any sort of credibility will be Andy Burnham. You need someone from outside the building that cannot
Not Wes Streeting.
No, because he's still voted for these measures.
Yeah.
If you have somebody that can't be tied to the unpopular decisions of the manifesto, or that wasn't in the manifesto, then you've got half a chance, because you can go wiping the slate clean. We're doing this.
We love having you on, Maddie. Thank you so much indeed.